My name's Emil Viscasil. My students call me Mr. V. And if you're clicking on this video, it's because you're gonna take the Social Studies Content Knowledge exam, or better known as the 5081 Praxis exam. It is a big exam, 2 hours, 130 questions, and it is time consuming. And I just got my scores today. I'm passed. I got a 168, so I was super excited about that. But I kind of wanted to make this video to get some questions out of the way that I had when I was studying and trying to prepare for this test that I couldn't really find on the internet at all. If you're looking for any other Praxis exams and me talking about those, I'm not going to touch on any of them in this video, or probably at all. I don't have to take those exams. I probably will never take those exams unless it's required by the state or something else. So with that out of the way, let's begin. First thing is, calm down. If you're watching this video, half of you are probably panicking. It's probably a few days or a day before the test. Just calm down a little bit. It's just another exam. It's multiple choice. You're not going to be having to write any essays or anything. Just make sure your time management skills on point. It's an important exam, but the good thing is you can take it over and over again. So if you fail the first time, even though that sucks, you can still keep on going on to it. So calm down, don't worry about it, you're good. So I guess the first big question I had was kind of the scoring system of the exam. So when you're on the Praxis website and just looking at forums, they said it was just 130 questions flat, 20% US history, 20% world history, and I believe everything else is 15%, maybe. I think behavioral science may be 10%. I'm not quite sure on that. One of them is 10%. But that's all I could really find about it in the scoring and how you know if you did good. There's one website out there where you take your raw score. So let's just say I got 88 out of 130 correct. You divide that to get your average and then plus 100 to that, and that gives you a raw score or unofficial score. No, that's a good way to look at the forum and seeing the practice tests, and then actually taking the real exam. I think that's a solid kind of baseline to see where you're at. It's not correct. It's not the correct or official score, but it gives you a good idea where you're at. Second question is, I saw many people say that there's a lot of these experimental questions on the exam and they don't count for anything. That is true. For my exam in particular, they had 20 practice or experimental questions that didn't count towards my final grade. So technically I was graded out of 110 questions. How I found this out was they give you a breakdown after you take your exam of how many questions you got right and how many questions were in that category. And I just added those up and I got 110. And that's a lot. That's a little scary, So that's why the most important thing is to make sure you're studying on everything, because it is true. If you get a lot of those questions correct, a lot of those experimental questions correct, and you get the ones that are actually going to be graded wrong, that's going to negatively affect your grade. However, it goes the opposite too. If you get most of those experimental questions wrong and you get a lot more of the real questions correct, that's going to boost your grade a bit. So it's just based off the luck of the draw. Some people said they only had 5 experimental questions. Some said they had 25. So it's something that you won't know. They won't tell you on the exam if it's experimental or not. But you just gonna have to take each question as if it's a real question that's gonna be graded. Um, so that for me, that was the most nerve-wracking one, because during my exams, I was around like 170, 169, 168, around there. Those are the three scores I kept on getting around. So that's a little above 157, which is the passing grade, and I believe in almost every state that does the Praxis. There's a few I think that are at 155, 156. You can find that score on the practice website, or just Googling it. There's I think study.com has something where it lists down all the passing scores for each state. But yeah, so there are experimental questions. You won't know until you get your results how many were on the test. For me, my unofficial score, so here's the next thing. When you take the practice exam, they're going to give you an unofficial score, like I was saying earlier. So for my unofficial score, I got a 168, and luckily enough, that didn't change at all. I still had a 168 afterwards. So I would trust that unofficial score they give you. Be a little wary of what your unofficial score is with your practice exams. Yeah. Going on to the next part, how do you prepare for this exam? Personally, I believe a lot of the questions on this exam are kind of just common high school questions that you would find on a high school quiz or test. They're not difficult. It's just a lot of them. And it's just a lot of memorization, like what certain acts did. I remember one of the questions on the practice exams were like, what was the first colony founded in the U.S.? So I would really just take a practice test and see where your strengths and weaknesses are. For me, I had to look back at early U.S. history, and then I had to look back at economics. Those were the two that I did poorly in, and that I struggled remembering stuff. I highly recommend don't walking into the exam without studying, or at least looking over each section. There's a lot of things that you don't realize that you forgot, that you have forgotten. They may seem simple, but even as a secondary ed history major, like, you're gonna forget a lot of the smaller stuff. So I would look back at different topics, review, and you should be good. And then trying to think on the day of the test, remember to look over the requirements you have to bring. I know you have to bring a photo ID, stuff of that nature. They have that on their website. They'll have it on the ticket you have to print out to show them. I would say I used a lot of crash course videos to go over certain things like economics and the government. They're good, but I would also use Quizlet. If you're student teaching right now and you have a textbook like I have an American history textbook because I'm student teaching 9th grade U.S. history classes. Use that resource. That's literally what's going to be on the test. So, and it's going to be at that grade level, the high school grade level questions. So use that. Use everything to your advantage. And again, like, stay calm. Make sure that you're good with your time management. 2 hours seems a lot of time on a 130 question test, but depending how you focus on different parts, that time can go by quick. I got there at 8:30. That's when I started my test. 8:45, and I didn't leave until 10. So, like, prepare for the whole long, manage your time, and you should be good. It's just the next step in starting our careers. I was super excited to take it, super nervous, but study it like you would with any other test. if you have a way of studying that works for you, do that. You know, there's not a silver bullet to solving how to study for this exam. For me, it was watching YouTube videos, Googling vocabulary words that I didn't recognize or forgot, and taking the practice exams. There is a website, I forget what it's called. I'll add it to the link in the description if I can find it again. But it's where you sign up for a free account and they gave you one free practice exam. And then I definitely recommend buying at least one of the practice exams that they have on their website. Very useful tool. Their questions are really accurate to the questions that you're going to be facing on the exam. They're not going to be exactly the same, but you can find common themes with it. For an example, each practice exam I took always had a GPS question for some reason, and on the test there was a GPS question. It wasn't worded the same, and it was talking about something else, but it was a GPS question on geography. So, look over that. Use those tests to your advantage. All you guys are going to do good. We're all in the same shoes. If you're a junior right now, I don't think you have to study for a few months for this exam. You don't really have to. Maybe 2 weeks. If you're really not confident in your content knowledge, maybe start watching some YouTube videos a little earlier. But overall, you guys should be fine. I believe in all of you. You know, if I can pass it, then anyone can pass it. So, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, place them in the comments. I'll try to respond to them as much as possible. We're all in it together. You know, we're the future educators, so I want everyone to succeed. So, have a good day, guys. Good luck on your exams if you're about to take it, and yeah, bye.